I mean, you know, we did used to beat people to death with canes on the floor of the Senate, right? I mean, politics is hard, and people don't always behave well, and there is a certain responsibility of civility that comes with leadership that you would hope people would demonstrate. I mean, a couple things that I thought were really interesting yesterday. Number one was the decision by Nancy Pelosi and the other House leadership to walk from the Cannon House office building carrying the gavel that was used to pass Medicare in 1965. And there's a lot of ways to get around in Washington. I used to be a bike messenger in Washington, so. But you don't have to walk, if you're going from the Cannon House office building to the House floor, you don't have to walk through the Tea Party protest. and they did. And I think that we will not be intimidated gravitas I think I found that inspiring. And nobody had to say a word to do it, but I found that inspiring. I will also say that there was apparently a member, an anti-health reform protester in the gallery in the House who was screaming from the gallery, "Kill the bill, kill the bill." And you're not allowed to disrupt from the gallery, but when Capitol Police officers went to escort that person from the gallery, the protester resisted arrest against 4 police officers, was kicking and fighting and screaming with the police officers, and members of the House Republican caucus turned to the gallery and applauded that. And so, you know, is it the first person to kick and scream in the gallery while screaming something incoherent? Absolutely not. Is it the first time that members on the floor knew that was happening and said it was a good thing? I don't, you know, that's tough. So I don't expect people who are upset about what's going on in politics to be always civil, but I expect people in leadership positions to call on our better angels and not our worst. And there have been times in this country when political anger has turned to violence. And it's not always because people in power legitimized the violent edge of that anger, but it is sometimes because of that. And so I would hope that we would remember that history.
Let's switch to Arkansas politics.
Okay.
We're an interesting state in that at the last presidential election, we're one of the few states to vote more for Senator McCain than President Bush in that election, yet we have 3 or 4 Democratic representatives, 2 Democratic senators, and a Democratic governor with a huge approval rating. And Senator Lincoln is drawn, seems like 12, 15 Republican challengers and 1 Democratic in the primary. What happened to her? 4 or 6 years ago, she had both the support of labor unions and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and now she's getting hit from both sides.
Well, I'm no expert in Arkansas politics, and I bet everybody in this room could probably explain this better than I could. But in terms of the halter challenge, it is one thing to be, I think it is one thing to be a moderate Democrat, to be a conservative Democrat. It's another thing to seem to not want to be a Democrat. There are ways to talk about health reform right now. For example, we were just reading, backstage, we were just reading Senator Lincoln's statement on health reform, which she voted for when it passed. She voted for the Senate bill. I mean, all the Democrats voted when it passed the Senate. And she now says she's going to vote against this package, right, the reconciliation package, which is the thing that's going to make health reform law. And she says she's going to vote against that reconciliation package because she doesn't like the process by which it was passed. And there's no, I have to say, I mean, in context, there's nothing particularly egregious about the context in which the reconciliation package was passed. There's also nothing particularly objectionable in the reconciliation package. I mean, she may object to specific things in it, but this is not a controversial bill. This is taking Ben Nelson's special deal for Nebraska out of the health reform bill. This is taking the Mary Landrieu special deal for Louisiana out of the bill. This is changing the tax on expensive plans. I mean, it's, This is not red meat stuff that's going on in the reconciliation package. And so, I think it is one thing to be a conservative-minded member of the Democratic caucus, but to not be able to explain why you're voting for what you're voting for, to not actually seem to believe in the things you were elected because you said you wanted to do them, is to afford, I think, is to make yourself a soft target from all sides.
Do you have any predictions for the 2010 election?
I'm the worst predictor of all things.
So your bracket's completely busted?
My bracket, no. I'm always like, Gonzaga all the way. Yeah. No, I'm bad at predictions. I mean, I thought that, for example, on the Stupak thing, the House Democrats had stopped negotiating with Bart Stupak, and Congressman Stupak had said that he had 20 Democrats in his pocket, and then he said he had 12 Democrats in his pocket, and nobody knew who the Democrats in his pocket were, and nobody was talking to him anyway, and the thing he wanted fixed is a problem that didn't exist, and the way he wanted to fix it couldn't be fixed. And I mean, it was clear to me that Mr. Stupak's 15 minutes of fame were over, and then the clock started right back up yesterday, and he was all over TV again, and he got this showboaty, useless thing that he apparently wanted. So I was wrong on Stupak. I was wrong about Senator Clinton taking it all the way to convention in Denver. I was wrong about Gonzaga. I'm wrong about everything.
Well, do you think they're going to lose? I mean, generally, they lost 54 in 94. Is it going to be worse or better for them?
It is. I mean, there have only been 2 occasions since the Civil War in which, in the election after a president was elected, his party did not lose seats. So Democrats are going to lose seats. Are they going to lose their majorities in either house? I would guess probably not. I think that it's probably, I think Democrats we might get down to a 51-49 Senate or something. But the majority in the House is something like 70-something seats. That's a hard majority to lose. It's totally possible. I think had the election happened in January, then they'd be in real trouble. But, I mean, really, it's yes, we can versus hell no, you can't. And hell no, you can't is very energizing to people who believe hell no, you can't. Americans aren't like that. That's a rump party, we're in the minority for a long time sort of sentiment. And the Republicans have not. All Democrats have to do to hold on to way more seats than people think they're going to, is to make this election not a referendum on how you think things are, but what do you think about what we're offering versus what they're offering? It's not a referendum, it's a choice. And thank God for Democrats, thank God there are John Boehners and Paul Ryans out there to explain what Republicans want to do. Because it's one thing to say, are you comfortable? Are things good when we're coming out of the worst recession since the Great Depression? No, nobody's comfortable. Nothing's good, obviously. Everything sucks. But do you want Paul Ryan to lead the way out of here? He's the guy who wants to eliminate Social Security, wants to eliminate Medicare, and thinks the way out of this economic crisis that we're in right now is to give the biggest corporate tax break that's ever been given in this country, and a bigger tax break to the rich than has been given, even dwarfing the 2001 Bush tax cuts, which added $1.3 trillion to the deficit. That's the Republican budget plan. So if I were anybody running in any country, I would want to run against that. Yeah.
Well, it's probably word association. So whatever.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Healthcare reform.
I'm just supposed to say a word?
That's it. I'll give you 2 words.
Can I hyphenate?
Yeah, sure.
Healthcare reform. Long awaited.
Reality TV. Since you watch
Mystery.
President Obama.
Trying.
Diet Dr. Pepper.
Delicious.
Sarah Palin.
Diet Dr. Pepper.